friends. Welcome into the Leadership Sandbox Podcast. I'm Tammy Bond, your host, and excited to have you join me for another episode in the Sandbox where we are deeply passionate and committed to giving you strategies and tools to up-level workplace communication, your team collaboration, and your corporate culture. So as we get ready to jump into the sandbox with episode 70 today on nonverbal leadership and how actions speak louder than titles, I want you to get ready to kick off your shoes, step on in, because I know that you're going to have a transformative experience in the sandbox today. So why not be comfy? Kick off your shoes, step into the sandbox, dig your toes in, grab your pen and paper on the way, because you're going to want to take some notes. And I will see you on the inside in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hey, leader, if you're navigating tough conversations and it feels like a struggle, I want you to know I've got you covered. I've got your back. I've created a communication starter pack designed to give leaders and managers the tools that they need to communicate with confidence, clarity, and real impact. So I want you to head on over to bondgroupenterprises.com and grab your starter pack today. It's time to lead conversations that matter and get the results you deserve. All right. Well, welcome to episode 70 on nonverbal leadership. Listen, we all talk about leadership and communication and how actions speak louder than words. But did you ever think about that maybe actions as a leader speak louder than the title? I mean, by a show of hands, if I was in the audience with you, I would say by a show of hands, because I've asked this at speaking engagements before. I want you to tell me what speaks louder, actions or titles? And the people that actually put up the hand for actions over titles is exponential, because the title, I also asked the question of, think about the leader that you've worked with that had a positive impact and what were their attributes, and think about the one that had the negative. And oftentimes the list is easier to get through and get listed out of the negative. And at the top is their actions don't line up with their words. So leaders, whatever your title is, make sure that you're honoring your actions with the honoring the words through the actions that you take. That's what I wanted to say, because leadership isn't defined by what you say. It's how you show up. And nonverbal cues are the loudest voice in the room. That nonverbal, that body language, you all know, I've talked about it with like your negative Nelly, right? Or your Dorothy the Destroyer, who loves to come in and be all smiley and she's just so happy to be around. But then she starts going into her spinning mode and spinning out and oh my goodness, the destruction there. So body language, sometimes they can be camouflaged, and then other times they're absolutely, it's just obvious, the facial expressions, right? And you know me, I'm like, y'all, if you don't know what I'm saying, because I'm not speaking, you're probably seeing it. So just ask me what you see on my face. So tell me what your face is telling me that your words aren't. I've actually said that to people, to leaders, very high up leaders, government officials even. Why? Because, that's what they bring me in to do, is to be bold, right? Remember, I'm going after workplace culture and I want to create healthy teams and collaboration. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to be curious and ask bold questions, but I'm going to talk to you about your nonverbal, because your nonverbal cues are the loudest voice in the room. And I want you to remember this. Your title doesn't give you authority to be disrespectful. Your title gives you authority, yes, but not to be disrespectful with your body language. It gives you authority in the room, but your actions give you respect. So if your body language is getting in the way and it's attacking your authority, right? Your actions are attacking your authority or the respect that you're not getting from your team. Go back to YOU, right? Your own universe, who you are and how you show up. And let's address it. And why does that matter? Listen, there was research from UCLA that I found that reveals that 93% of communication is nonverbal. Yes. And if your tone, if your posture or your expressions don't align with the words that you're saying, you risk eroding trust and credibility. Your body language, friend, it's your leadership resume. They're going to remember you for your body language much more than and your attitude and your facial expressions, much more than anything you've ever accomplished. I have one friend, And if she's listening to this, she'll know who I'm talking about. She has an amazing face. She is beautiful. And she has amazing facial expressions. And people talk about that. People talk about what she's saying through her facial expressions and her body language, not what she's actually saying. So they're reading and interpreting her body language. And I have talked to her about this. I'm like, friend, when I give you this look, and I give her the look when we're in rooms or we're on Zoom, then you know what that means, right? And she's like, I got to check my face. Yes. She has multiples of my little mirrors so she can check her face. And she sends me little selfies of herself using it. It's pretty funny. She uses it in meetings. It's kind of her own personal pause button. So she can check her facial expressions. Why? Because your body language is your leadership resume. How about you make it speak your values, not whatever thoughts are trickling through your head? And here's my challenge. Sometimes my facial expressions will be on something I'm thinking that happened this morning, yesterday, or yet to come, and not that it has nothing to do with what's happening in the moment. So I let people know you have full permission to actually question me and challenge me on what you see. Because here's the important thing. There's the power of pause. And I love the power of pause. Push the pause button, take a breath, and ask the next best question, right? I want you to think about it this way. Intentional pausing as a leadership tool is a gold mine for you. Intentional pausing, take a breath, ask yourself the question. What am I feeling? What might my face be saying in this moment that I don't want it to convey? How do I sit on my hands, right? So that I'm not like trying to take over a conversation in that moment. Sometimes that's just the body language, right? But during a tense meeting, when you pause briefly before responding, oh my goodness, it's a game changer for the team. It signals confidence in you, right? Gives you weight to your words, and it encourages others to actively listen when you pause. And if you're one of those, you like to speak first always, listen, leader, let your team go first. Wait till the end. When you're going around the room, I do this intentionally in trainings. I have the leaders actually celebrate at the end and acknowledge at the end. Oftentimes people on the team, when we go through and we do a training together, one day or a multi-day, whatever it is, half day, I don't care, 1 hour, we go through and we celebrate. What did we learn today? What are we acknowledging about our team members today, especially where there's been conflict in the team? What are we acknowledging about our team members today? Oftentimes the team will look to the leader first by title, right? Yeah, they're looking to the title first to be the first to respond. And I will say, no. He or she will go last. They'll go last. We're going to want to hear from everybody else first. Let's let everybody else share. Because what happens when you, as the leader of the team with the title, go first, you set the tone for what everybody else says. Bottom line. Let everybody else go first. Encourage active listening. Review with people what that means, how people can lean in to listen, pause and listen and reflect, right? Silence isn't awkward, right? When you ask questions and nobody answers, everybody's in silence because they're looking to the title of how you're going to respond. That's not awkward, and it doesn't mean it's an opportunity for you to grab the microphone and fill the space. It shows that you've got that, it can create that authority and the spaciousness for others to bring it forward. So, how do you be a mirror in stressful situations? Here's a thought. You can look at how you can set the tone in high pressure situations by being that one that encourages people to reflect, that encourages a practice of slow breathing, of controlled gestures, of a steady voice. If someone's wanting to share something and they're starting to escalate, have the flag that goes up or the hand that just says, hold on, time out, let's pause, take a breath for me. I want to hear what you say. And John, right now, what I'm hearing is the emotion that's coming through. And I might be interpreting something with that. And I don't want to make any assumption about that. So I want to just push pause for a minute. And I want you to take a breath with me for a minute. Now, start again. Because when your team is able to do that and sees that you're valuing calmness, they then can also reflect and see how it's important for them to stay calm instead of raising up and getting elevated. Not that we at all times need to be calm. There are times where elevated emotion comes into the workplace. So long as you create it where it's, okay, that was really elevated. Let's take a minute. And if you could bottom line what you heard and you let other people bottom line what they heard to the person that was elevated, a game changer. It's a game changer, you guys. Honestly, give your team that opportunity to hear through the nonverbal and be able to reflect back what they heard or what they saw. But when you're modeling a calmness, your team sees that. They're going to model that as well. But if you're one of these leaders, like I've seen, unfortunately, far too many, that comes in ratcheted up, whatever you're speaking, no one's hearing because all they're caught on is your body language. It's completely overwhelmed the core points of what you're trying to get to. So listen, friends, you can't demand that people trust you. You start by modeling it. You can't demand that people hear you or take action immediately. You model it by the respect that you show and the engagement and the curiosity that you show to seek understanding that your team understands the expectations. But it starts with how you show up. It starts with your presence, the intentionality of your presence. And one of the ways that you can simplify this is to do an audit of your space, right? You can talk about how the space that you've created in the environment that you're in is creating a calmness or for people to get agitated, irritated, and upset. When we walk into a room and plastered all over the room are all the fail points that we've done, how do you think people are going to respond in that room? Shoulders are going up to the earlobes. There's going to be tensions, all of that, right? But in your one-on-one meetings, when you're sitting at eye level and you're fostering the respect and that equality, not because of title, but because of human being, right? That is going to raise how people see you in meetings. So when they do go into a meeting and it happens to be contentious, we can go back to, wait, you're holding me in my highest possible regard. I'm holding you in the same manner. And we trust each other that we're all here for each other's best at all times, not to throw each other under the bus, but to support one another as we navigate through that body language, that giving, that leaning in, that extending a hand, that confidence that you have, that sharing and collaborating openly, right? It projects confidence and authority in a positive way. And that's really what you want in your space. So when you go through and you do a space audit, do the space audit of self on body language and others on body language. Give others the chance to react or respond, better yet, to the space that's being created. How does your team perceive your confidence? You might be a really bold, confident person. I am. Notice my body language. I am. And there's times when I'm really not. But you know what I put on? A projection of I'm confident. I want to be approachable even more than confident. The appearance of confidence is important, but the necessity of approachability is absolutely paramount. So be approachable with your people. Be confident. Yes, your space, your body language, it shows all of that. And how you model that then is important because it then challenges your team to also do that, right? Listen, one of the best ways to cut through some of this is to talk about the unintended messages that you send with your resting facial expressions, right? With your furrowed brow, with your crossed arms, and what that signals. Give everybody the chance to talk about what they put up body language pictures on the wall. I have a great tool of different faces that is the cartoon characters of different faces and different facial expressions. And cross-culturally, when you give this to a team, what one person perceives as being anger, another person perceives as being frustrated. Not anger, just frustration or disappointment. What one person reflects it or perceives as being sadness, another one actually sees it as depression. Two very strong words, sadness and depression. But if I'm making that assumption based on what I'm seeing and not asking the questions to clarify for understanding what I'm seeing, imagine what that causes. Our actions speak louder than titles. As leaders, your actions that you do in supporting your team with the way that we can talk about our facial expressions, right? Practicing a neutral or approachable expression in a meeting sometime and talking about how people experience that creates a strong sense of community in your team and a trust that will take you much farther. So, if you ask yourself what your resting face is saying when you're not speaking, and you ask others to tell you, what is my resting face saying when I'm not speaking? And you listen with the intention to seek to understand, let go of your own self-judgment of that. You're actually transforming, kind of turning the table, if you will. And if you do this as a daily reflection exercise, ask yourself, did my actions align with my message today? Asking your team that, doing daily check-ins with self and even with others. Maybe even asking the question, what nonverbal cues might I need to adjust tomorrow to better support what the team says? And this message is so important for new leaders of teams. New leaders, get a hold of this. It is paramount, so important for you to use this as an opportunity to teach people how to respond and treat you. You've heard me say it. We teach people how to treat us. You want to teach people how to engage with you by being willing to ask those questions, but then letting people know, because when you are a new leader of a team, and if that team has been established for any period of time and you go into that team, I've done it, I'll be honest, you go into that team with your own level of authority based on title, but also assumptions that you're making and also past behaviors of how you've worked well with other teams because it's worked before, and you make an assumption that it's going in and you go in bold and your body language is speaking boldness, your nonverbal cues are speaking boldness, you might be shutting down your brand new team. So you want to invite that curiosity on the front end and talk about you are open to hearing if there's nonverbal cues that you might need to adjust so that we can communicate effectively in this brand new team. Invite that conversation. My goodness, it is powerful. And I want you to remember this: your body language either reinforces your leadership or it undermines it. I almost just want to stop the whole episode right there. Let's just be real. Your body language either reinforces your leadership or it undermines it. There's no other way to look at it. There's no in between. Think about that. So how's your body language reinforcing your leadership in a positive, or is it undermining it? Think about that. This week, I want you to pick one nonverbal habit. Just pick one. Whether it's maintaining eye contact, maybe it's improving your posture, watching your body language, sitting at a table without your arms crossed or your legs crossed, practicing those intentional pauses, right? Watching the sighs, the eye rolls, yeah, the shaking of the head, right? Here's what I see happen a lot with our little 6-inch devices that people have, and they might see something on their screen and they're shaking their head, but a team member is talking, and immediately your body language just diminished everything in your authority because you were distracted and not being intentional with your listening. These small shifts can create big changes in how your leadership is, how you as a leader are perceived. And I want to leave this with you as my closing. Your words may inspire, but your actions build trust. Your words, leader, may inspire, but your actions build trust. Leadership isn't seen before it's heard. That's a good one. So make sure that your nonverbal cues speak to the values and the confidence you want to project from you to your team and modeling it for your team. It's a game changer. And who are you not to make that change so that your team succeeds? Remember, the tide raises all ships in the harbor. You're the tide, friend. Let's get to it. Make it a great day. Thanks for joining me in the sandbox today. For more resources, you can click on the links in the show notes. You can head to the website, bondgroupenterprises.com or tammyjbond.com. Follow us, like, share this with people that you think could actually use it. If you have that person on your team, friend, that is that their nonverbals are shutting down anybody being able to hear them, like the friend I told you about, you absolutely want to have a one-on-one conversation to talk about body language. And if you need some additional resources, please reach out. I have them. We have them in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. Remember that leadership isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you grow into. And you took time to grow into your next level of leadership in the sandbox today. And I'm excited that you did. Make it a great day, and God bless you.